Good morning, everyone. Val Shell here. Welcome to my channel, y'all. Doing today. I've got this baby blanket on this loom, and the reason I'm doing this is I have a friend that said that she was doing a blanket on a loom, and she said she just didn't know how to cast it off. So today, I told her when I was ready to cast my blanket off, I would do a video on it. So I've got about 2 rounds to do on this, and then I'll be ready to cast this off. So I figured I would save the 2 rounds so I can, anybody that wants to, know how to knit on one of these looms can learn. Now of course, I've already cast it on, and they got videos to show you how to cast on. Cast on is easy. It really is. Casting off is a little bit harder and takes a little more time. I'm going to do my best to show everybody how to cast off of this loom. I hope my instructions are helpful. So I'm going to do a couple of more rounds on this one. What we're doing is we're going around these, and we're doing the lines inside. We're going around each one of them. And you want the loop to be on the outside in the center. As you can see, that's where you want your loop. There's a groove in each of these pegs that helps you pull the bottom loop over the top loop. So we're going to go around each one of these. Usually with smaller yarn, I would use a straw and it would help me go around these loops faster. But this yarn is so thick that the straw thingy wouldn't help. So I had to just do it by hand, but that's okay, Uh, we have to do everything the way we have to do it. So I'm using this really thick yarn. It's called baby blanket yarn. And my husband's daughter is having a baby, and uh, the last video I did a little flip flop, made a little flip flop because I had made a set of flip flops for the baby. I'm doing like a little spa thing for the baby. This yarn looks more like spa stuff to me. So, and it's going to be a girl, so I'm trying to do like little girl things for her. I don't know what they're going to name it yet. They haven't told me, but that's fine too. I would see how I could knit names and things. So we're just going all around. We go all the way to the, now I'm only doing half. Like this, I could go all the way around, and it's a figure eight, this loom is, and I could go all the way around and it would make a bigger blanket, but I'm doing a baby blanket and I figured half would be fine. So we're not doing all of it. As you can see, these looms I'm leaving empty, just doing the S is all. And then I'm going around each one of these, and I'm picking up the stitch in that loop and pulling it over the loop. And I push that down, that locks it in. And then I got to do the rest of these. So I figured that I could go ahead and at least do one more round, and then we can try to cast off. Uh, but I'd like to, I think I'm going to do 2 rounds. We push these down once we get it looped over, because I really want to start out here, because here's too far away for me to try to show you, and this is closer for me to try to show you how to. And like I said, I do everything old schools. I don't have fancy setups. In fact, I'm sorry that but old school. I'm old fashioned. I'm having to do things the old fashioned way. So y'all forgive me. So what I'm doing is I'm just pulling each of these loops over. Uh-oh, well, that peg come off, but that's okay. As long as we don't lose it, we just put it back in there. These pegs, they can come out. You can take pegs out to um, skip a loop, or uh, do a different design or whatever. These loops are, you can take these pegs out. I don't want to take them out. I leave them in. I made a scarf with a smaller thing that I had. I gotta turn it over, y'all. And I'm just taking up the yeah, just taking up the old loop and just pulling them over the top loop. The bottom loop goes over the top loop. And basically when you cast one of these on, you just do like you starting a stitch and crocheting. You put it on there, and you just basically do like you just saw me do. Loop around each peg, and then pull the bottom, and then you go around the pegs again, and then you pull the bottom loop over the top loop, and you've started your stitches. So it's basically the same thing. It's easier to cast on than it is to cast off. And the whole plan was to show my friend um, how to cast off one of these things. She says she done, I think it was a blanket or something, a throw blanket or something she made, but she didn't know how to cast off. So I said, you know, maybe when I get ready to cast mine off, I'll do a video and show you how to cast off on it. I hope it comes in handy for some people. Y'all excuse my dog. He is loud today. He's playing with his he likes to bring stuff in from outside. He finds things and he's playing with it and it's loud. I'm sorry it's so loud. But yeah, y'all seen his videos. He's a rambunctious little dog. I want to get another Chihuahua. I miss my little Lulu and I want to get another Chihuahua uh, uh, because I lost my little Lulu to a coyote. Got a hold of her. She went in heat before we could get her fixed. So she attracted a coyote. So he kind of had her for a snack. It wasn't even, and I still ain't got over her yet. And I miss her, so I'm wanting to have both, the best of both worlds. I have my little pug back, and then I have my little Lulu back. And I'm trying to work on my husband with that, so I don't know. I'm praying over it, so we'll see how that works out. Anyway, first, almost done with this round, and then I'm going to go around one more time because I want to the end to be on the side where it would be easier for me to show you how to cast off. This side, it would be harder for me to show you. So, but this yarn's harder for me to deal with because it's so thick. It is like really thick yarn. And I would have used my uh, knitting machine, but I had a hard time using this kind of yarn on the knitting machine, and I didn't want to go any further with it. I was afraid I would tear up my machine. So I said, well, I'll just use the loom because I know I can do it with the loom. Now I got to push all these stitches down, and then we're going to go over it one more time. Like I said, we just start on the outside and just loop on the next peg to the next peg, the next peg. And I'm only doing one side, y'all, uh, because I don't want to, I don't want a real big one, not for an infant. And this is an infant blanket. Just going over each one of these. And as you can see, the loops are right here. You want to bring this loop over the top loop. And basically, casting on is the same way. You just have to do it twice, and then that's when you start your stitches. You know, the bottom loop goes over the top loop. It's real easy to do. These looms are real easy to work with. There's so many patterns, and the loom I got, I think it came with instructions, and it came with its own little hook, and I believe it even come with a crochet needle. I don't know. Some do, some don't. I know my knitting machine came with a crocheting needle. I haven't even used it yet, the crochet needle. So I use the yarn needle or the, uh-oh, I was going to get that if I don't pick it up. Or the, I just use the yarn needle, in fact, on my knitting machines. Okay, we're going to pick up these stitches. Same way, y'all. Okay, and I'm going to pick up these stitches. And this will be the last round. The next round we do, well, I guess it's either way. I thought I'd be starting over here, but I'm going to be starting over here. But that's okay. You can see. I'll show you where you can see what I do. I got to move the blanket out of the way. All right, y'all, let me get these stitches real quick. So this yarn is like really, it's not as thick as it looks. It's just, it's bulky. It's very bulky. It comes, in fact, this is small compared to what it was. I've used some of that. In fact, I've used a pretty good bit of that. It's pretty bulky. It's really hard for me to, I have a certain way that I do this, but you just pull the bottom loop over the top loop, y'all. And I still call this cheating crocheting, but if you want to do a blanket faster than sitting there doing one stitch at a time, this is the way to do it. I still call it cheating, but that's okay. So I don't think it'll be hard to show you how to, yeah, I don't think it'll be hard to show you how to cast off from that end. It's just, I wanted it to be closer to the camera, but I think either way I go, it's going to be far away from the camera, so either way I go. So this will be the last loop. Oops, well that came out, so we got to put that back in. These pegs, they come out sometimes. You have to be careful. That's okay, they pop right back in. On mine, not all of them do that, but mine does. I'm trying to get it where y'all can see what I'm doing. I'm just getting the bottom loop going over the top loop is all it is. It's the easiest thing. And this blanket, it's tighter fit, so it's harder to do. Thought I dropped something, y'all. I hope I didn't, because my dog will get it. Anything goes on the floor, he thinks it's his. It don't matter what it is. He thinks it's his. That's why I say, if you drop something on the floor, you better get it, because Otis says it's his. And I love this yarn because it's like different colors. You got colors that run into colors. They even have camouflage. You make camouflage baby blankets. But since I'm having a girl, we're having a girl. I'm not having a girl, y'all. I can't have no babies. But she's having a girl. We want it to be girly girl. Now, she may be a tomboy. Just, that's okay too. All right. And then we're going to push these stitches down. Now it's time to cast off. I sit and worked on this blanket a little bit every day, and she's coming down this weekend, so I said I got to be done with it before this weekend. So I kind of worked on it a little more this week, but I wanted to cast off on camera because my friend wanted to know how to cast off. And I told her maybe I can show you how. I don't know if my instructions will be better than someone else's. I don't know, but I can show you how I do it, and hopefully it'll be easy for you to pick up on. Now, casting off, let me get comfortable here so I can show you how it's done. Let me see if I can. I think you can see, I'm not sure. Casting off, what we're going to do is we're going to take the first, I don't see it, know if you can see it, the first stitch, that's this peg right here at the very end. We're going to go around and we're going to take that bottom loop and pull it over. And then I'm going to go around again. I'm going to do it twice and pull it over again. Then we're going to take that loop. We're going to take this loop and move it over to this peg, the next peg. We move that loop over to this peg, the next peg. And then we're going to take the bottom loop, bring it over. Again, we're going to go around with our yarn and loop it, and then do it again. And then bring the bottom loop over the top. Then we're going to take that loop and move it over to the next loop. I hope y'all can see, but it'll get easier to see as I go around. Okay, we moved it over to the next loop. Then we take that bottom loop, move it over the top loop. Then we go around with some more yarn, bring the bottom loop over the top loop. Uh-oh, it's trying to come out. And we do that one more time. Twice on each one is what I do. Now, some people may do it different, but this is how I do it. Okay, and then we're going to take that loop, bring it over to the next. Take the bottom loop, bring it over the top. Take our yarn, go around, bottom loop over the top, go around one more time, bottom loop over the top, and then we're going to take that loop and bring it over here to the next peg. And you just keep doing this till you're completely off. Bring the bottom loop over the top, go around, bottom loop over the top, go around, bottom loop over the top. Then take that peg and move it over to the next peg. And you are casting off as we speak. Bottom, bring the bottom loop over the top, go around, bottom loop over the top, go around, bottom loop over the top, and then take that and move it over to the next peg. Bottom loop over the top, go around, bottom loop over the top, go around, bottom loop over the top, and then take that loop over to the next peg. And as you can see, we've already come down this far. And it's really easy. I hope my friend can see what I'm doing here. Bottom loop over to the top, over the top, go around, bottom loop over the top, go around, bottom loop over the top, Then take that loop and go over to the next peg. And you just keep going till you've cast it off. Let's go over the top, around, bottom over the top, around, bottom over the top. Then move this to the next peg over. Uh-oh, we don't want to lose. And this thick yarn is so easy to do. There, we made it. We did it. As you can see, it's casting off good. It's casting off really good. So then we just keep doing it. Bottom over the top, around, bottom over the top, around, bottom over the top, and then take this loop and let's move it over to the next peg. And then take the bottom over the top, around, bottom over to the top, around, bottom over the top, and then take this and over to the next peg. I hope y'all can see what I'm doing. It's hard for me to see if I'm showing you, but and then when you move it over to the next peg, bottom over the top, around, bottom over the top, around, bottom over the top, and then take this peg, this loop, and move it to the next peg. You're joining the pegs together, and it's coming off real nicely. This is that side. It's coming off real nicely, y'all. Real nicely. Take the bottom over the top, around, bottom over the top, around, bottom over the top, and then we want to take this, move it over to the next peg. Bottom over the top, around, bottom over the top, around, bottom over the top, and then we take this and over to the next peg. Bottom over the top, around, bottom over the top, around, bottom over the top, and take this one over to the next peg. Whew, it's getting hard to handle now. Now we got to get it situated here. Okay. All right, we're where we need to be, y'all. Okay, we take the bottom over the top, around, bottom over the top, around, bottom over the top, and then we take this peg, this loop over to the next peg. And you just keep going till you get down to the very last peg, y'all. That's the way it works. Bottom over the top, around, bottom over the top, around, bottom over the top. Then take this peg, this loop, bring it over to the next peg. Then we bring it bottom over the top, around, bottom over the top, around, bottom over the top. Then we take this and move it over to the next peg. I don't know if y'all can see what I'm doing. I thought hopefully when I get on this side it'll be easier to show you. Excuse me, y'all. quit smoking back in November, last November, and I still had to clear my throat a lot. They diagnosed me with COPD, so uh, I still had to clear my throat a lot. I have to take this stuff in the morning. Around, bottom from the top. Uh-oh, that pig wanted to come out. We don't like that. Bottom over the top. And then we take this loop and move it over to the next. So I have to take this medicine every morning. Well, I'm trying out some medicines. I don't know whatever I like the best or worked for me the best. We wrap around, bottom over the top, wrap around again, bottom over the top. Then we take this loop, move it to the next peg. Now, what it basically is you taking wrap around your yarn, bring it over to the top, wrap around your yarn, bring it over to the top, and you just keep going till you get all the way around. You're joining them together and casting off, and that way your stitches don't come undone when you take them off. Bottom over the top, wrap around, bottom over the top. See if I can get closer and maybe you can see. Bottom over the top, wrap around, bottom over the top. Then you take this loop and move it over to the next peg. Then we take the bottom loop over the top, wrap around, bottom over the top, wrap around, bottom over the top, then take this loop and move it over to the next one. Now I always keep my loop on my pin when I take it off the peg because you don't want to lose it. And this little hook right here will help you keep it on the the hook so you don't lose it, because you lose it, your whole thing can come unraveled. You just don't, after all this trouble, you just really don't want to. And I'm telling you, these looms, I still say it's cheap crocheting, but these looms will work you hard. They really will. So it's hard work working on these looms. So we want to take the bottom loop over the top, wrap around, bottom loop over the top, wrap around, bottom loop over the top. Oh. Then we want to take this loop and come over to the next peg. We want to take the bottom loop over the top, wrap around, bottom loop over the top, oh, wrap around, bottom loop over the top. Then we want to take this loop, move it to the next peg. All right, we're getting somewhere with it. Bottom loop over the top, wrap around, bottom loop over the top, wrap around, bottom loop over the top. Then we take this loop and bring it over to the next peg. Sorry, y'all, my dog. Okay, bottom loop over the top, wrap around, bottom loop over the top, wrap around, bottom loop over the top, and then we move this loop over to the next peg. No, stop it. Sorry, y'all. My dog likes to get my stuff. I have to tell him, get out of my stuff. So we moved it over to the next peg. We take the bottom loop, go over the top one, wrap around, bottom over the top one, wrap around, bottom over the top one, and then this loop goes to the next. And this loop goes to the next. Sorry, my dog's getting in my little sewing bag. I don't understand him doing that. He knows better. Okay. So we're getting somewhere, y'all. This is really easy. It's real easy. And then bottom loop over the top. Wrap around. Bottom loop over the top. Wrap around. Bottom loop over the top. And we take this top loop, put it over on the next peg. I hope my friend is watching, and I hope she's picking up on this. It's hard for me to show it, but when I'm talking it, I think you can pretty much understand it. I hope you can see it. Bottom loop over the top, wrap around, bottom loop over the top, wrap around, bottom loop over the top, and then move this loop over to the next peg. Bottom loop over the top, wrap around, sorry, my hands are not wanting to work with me. Bottom loop over the top, wrap around, bottom loop over the top, and then we'll take this one and move it over to the next peg. He's a growling. Y'all, if I have to pause, I'm sorry, but my dog's acting up. He's bottom over the top, wrap around, bottom over the top, wrap around, bottom over the top, and then bring this loop over to the next peg. I have to pull it tight. That's how I pull it tight, y'all. Make sure it stays. Alright, bottom. I'm in the middle now. It's a little more complicated, y'all. Pull the bottom loop over the top, wrap around, bottom loop over the top, wrap around, bottom loop over the top, then take this loop, move it on to the next peg. Bottom loop over the top, wrap around, bottom loop over the top, wrap around, bottom loop over the top, and then move this loop over to the next peg. You don't want to lose your stitch. You definitely don't want to do that. Bottom loop over the top, wrap around, bottom loop over the top, wrap around, bottom loop over the top. Oops, that peg come out, so that's not good. Put it back in there, wrap around, bottom loop over the top, and then we move this on to the next peg. Ooh, there we get off that peg. It just kept coming. I gotta pause for a second. Y'all hold on just a second. Sorry, y'all. I had to straighten my dog out here. So I think we moved it to the next peg. So we're gonna bottom loop over the top, wrap around, bottom loop over the top, wrap around, bottom loop over the top, and then we're gonna bring that loop over to the next peg. All right, I gotta get some yarn here. Okay. All right. This is probably a little further away. I'm trying my best here, y'all. Uh, Bottom over the top. Just remember, bottom over the top. Wrap around. Bottom over the top. Wrap around. Bottom over the top. And then take this loop and move it over to the next one. You wrap around about twice. You know, that works. And so far we're casting off and it's looking great. That's our cast off side right there. It's looking great. It's looking really good. So we've moved over to the next peg. So we're going to move bottom over the top, wrap around, bottom over the top, wrap around, bottom over the top, then move this one over to the next. Oh, don't lose my stitch. There we go. Move that over to the next stitch. Then bottom over the top, wrap around, bottom over the top, wrap around, bottom over the top, then move this one over to the next peg. Okay, pull it tight, bottom over the top. When I get over to this side over here, I'll go a little slower so y'all can see how I'm doing it. I'm trying to get there. Bottom over the top, wrap around, bottom over the top, wrap around, bottom over the, oh, my peg come out. Oops. Bottom over the, oops, over the top. Then we take this loop, move it over to the next. Some of my pegs come out, they're a little loose, but that's okay as long as you don't lose your stitch. Just watch them, you know, watch those pegs. And bottom over the top again. Bottom over the top, wrap around, bottom over the top, wrap around, bottom over the top, then move this loop over to the next peg. Bottom over the top, wrap around, bottom over the top, wrap around, bottom over the top, and then move this over to the next peg. If I can get it in there. There we go. Your pegs act like the crochet needle. They got the little hooks underneath the top part here, you know, so your yarn stays under there. When you bring the bottom loop over to the top, it acts like a crochet needle. So bottom over the top, wrap around, bottom over the top, wrap around, bottom over the top, and then you bring that loop over to the next needle peg. All right. Now a lot of people will measure their yarn and go ahead and cut their yarn off. I keep my yarn hooked onto my yarn ball of yarn until I get done casting off, because it's easier, you know, just to have it hooked on. I'm afraid I might run out of yarn. So bottom over the top, wrap around, bottom over the top, wrap around, bottom over the top, then move this one to the next peg. So I'm trying to speak it as I do it, that way you know what I'm doing. If you can't see it, you know. But when I get over here, like I said, it'll be easier to see what I'm doing. Right now, that's why I wanted to start here, but I guess I got turned around somehow. Bottom over the top, wrap around, bottom over the top, wrap around, bottom over the top, then move this loop to the other nearest this next peg. Okay, bottom over the top, wrap around, bottom over the top, wrap around, bottom over the top, and take this loop, move to the next peg. Okay. I don't want to accidentally hit any keys on my computer and turn you off. Bottom over the top, wrap around, bottom over the top, wrap around, bottom over the top, pull this loop next to the next peg. Bottom over the top. Oops. Sometimes it's hard to grab. Wrap around, bottom over the top, wrap around, bottom over the top, move this loop to the next peg. Bottom over the top, wrap around, bottom over the top, wrap around, bottom over the top, then move this loop to the next peg. Okay, I hope I can get it around where I can show you. This, I'm at the bottom now. Bottom over the top, wrap around, bottom, oops, wrap around, bottom over the top, wrap around, bottom over the top, move this loop to the next peg. Bottom over the top, wrap around, bottom over the top, wrap around, bottom over the top, and move this over to the next peg. Okay, maybe I can show you now. Let me see if I can get in a good position so you can really see what I'm doing here. Okay. Alright, we're pulling the bottom over the top, wrap around, bottom over the top, wrap around, bottom over the top. My dog's barking, y'all excuse him. He's acting up today for some reason. Then move it to the next peg. He is acting up for some reason today. I don't know what his problem is. Okay, bottom over the top, wrap around. I can't see y'all. I'm trying to. Bottom over the top, wrap around, bottom over the top. Then we move this over to the next peg. Y'all see what I'm doing here? Okay. Bottom over top, wrap around, bottom over top, wrap around, bottom over top, and then move this to the next peg. Ooh, don't want to lose that. There we go. Bottom over top, wrap around, bottom over top, wrap around, bottom over top, then move this to the next peg. Y'all see what I'm doing now? I don't know if you can see it good or not. I hope. I guess when I rewatch this to make sure everything looks good, I'll be able to see whether y'all could see it really good or not. And wrap around. Move this to the next peg. And see, this is our cast off side. Or, yeah, this is our cast off side. It's looking really good, y'all. We got this much more to go. So let's see if we can get it done. We moved it over to this peg. Bottom over the top. Wrap around. Bottom over the top. Wrap around. Bottom over the top. Move this over to the next peg. Oh, come on, get on there. Sometimes it don't want to do right. Okay. Bottom over the top. Wrap around. Bottom over the top. Wrap around. Bottom over, whoops. Bottom over the, oh, that peg just did not want to stay in there. Sometimes they pop out. Wrap around. Bottom over the top. Then bring this loop over to the next peg. All right. Bottom over the top. Wrap around. Wrap around. And then we're going to bring this loop over to the next peg. This video is lasting a lot longer than I expected it. I think it's the longest video I've ever done. So bottom over top. But I just wanted my friend to know how to cast off one of these things. It's not that hard, you know. I had to watch a video too myself to learn how to do it. But I do mine a little different than they did. So I hope you can see what I'm doing here. I don't have fancy equipment, like I said. I just have my computer here, and I try to fold it down to where you can see what I'm doing. And right now I'm working in a position that I'm not used to doing this in. So it makes it kind of rough. And what we're doing is we're adding extra stitches on there, so when we bring it over to the next one, it has that space in between them. You know, it's creating a stitch. So it's really easy to do. Bottom over top, bottom over top, bottom over top, and then move the loop to the next peg. And you just keep doing it till you are at the end of it. Move this to the next peg. We're almost cast it off, almost. I think my dog's enjoying watching me. Y'all see where he's at, don't you? He's sitting here watching me. So, y'all can sit and watch Otis watching me do this. So, wrap around, bottom over top, wrap around, bottom over top, and move to the other peg. I'm sorry I'm repeating the same thing. I just want y'all to understand how it's done. You know, bottom over top, wrap around, bottom over top, wrap around, bottom over top, and then move to the next peg. These last ones are going to be a little looser, so they're going to be the bottom over top, wrap around, bottom over top, wrap around, bottom over top, and move to the next peg. Alright. Bottom over top, wrap around, bottom over top, wrap around, bottom over top, and then move to the next peg. I enjoy doing stuff like this, y'all. It has really helped me since I quit smoking to do things like this. Because normally I'd be smoking a cigarette and smoking myself to death. But this has helped me actually get off the cigarettes. It's helped me, keep my hands busy. Smokers need to keep their hands busy. This stitch just did not want to go on that peg. We want it to go on that peg. Don't let go of that stitch. Okay. Okay, two more, y'all. Two more to go. All right. My dog's excited too. So it's kind of getting on my nerves today a little bit. Over the top. Wrap around. Over the top. Wrap around. Over the top. And then we will move this one to our last peg, y'all. This is the last one. Last one. So I have to get this in a certain way, y'all. Over the top. Wrap around. Over the top. Wrap around. Over the top. And I'm going to go a few more times with this one. And since we're down at the end, I'm going to go ahead and cut my yarn off a little ways. Okay, so we went a little further down with this one. I can't find a way to cut my yarn off. But, let's see if I can find a way to cut my yarn off. Oh my goodness. Maybe I can try these clippers. I don't know if that will work or not. I lost mine. There, that worked just fine. Yes, it did. I had to use my clippers, y'all. I couldn't find my knife. So we want to take this yarn. We're going to take it and we're going to go ahead and pull it on out. So we have cast it off our blanket. Let me get y'all up here closer. We've casted, this is our cast off side right here, y'all. See? It did really good. It's a nice little size baby blanket. I hope the baby, well, I got what I'll do is I'll get my yarn needle and shoot these down into the stitches where you won't even see these ends here. But that's it. That's how you cast off this loom. These looms are really easy to work with. You can make blankets, you can make blouses, whatever, sweaters, whatever, especially on these big figure 8 looms. You can do whatever you want to on these things. They're real easy to do. You can go all the way around. You can take pegs out that you don't need if you want to skip a stitch. I've made a scarf. I used a smaller loom and made a nice little scarf. I wish I had it with me. I'll show it to you, but that's how you cast off of a loom. It's real easy, and they got lots of videos to show you how to cast onto them too. So I hope y'all enjoyed this. I hope you got something out of it, and I hope the baby enjoys his nice, comfy little baby blanket. So, or hers. So thank y'all for watching, and y'all have a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank y'all for watching.